So we have our committee meeting, for committee minutes, and thank you, Jeff, for doing that. Great job on that. Any comments or edits? And give me a wave if you reviewed it, or a thumbs up. That way you
Well, I want to say something.
your thumbs up.
Not having been here, I was telling you, it's very comprehensive notes.
Yeah.
Maybe Jeff should do it all the time, is that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting to. Because
I think we're working pretty well trading off.
if you recall, mine are nearly this big. It's the bullet points, not a lot of extraneous stuff. It's good.
That's enough sucking up.
I think also that's it. Were you typing them or were you writing? Yeah, because I find that when I type them, I end up with a lot more stuff when I write.
Well, my problem is I have a hard time when I go back and work on reading. Reading my own writing.
All right. In that case, any thumbs up on it, or are you still reading this?
No, I read it.
Okay. Are you good with it? If I could have a motion to accept the minutes as.
So,
Looks like somebody's still reading.
And all good? Okay,
We're still reading.
and any objections? Okay, minutes approved as written. And I also want to, and now call for public comment, and don't think we have any guests tonight, so on to new business. Congratulations, Fred. Thank you so much for, she's signed up for another term.
So how come nobody else? Like I've never been here when you.
I know. So they posted on the city website.
Also with the new.
No, this is what they've always
Oh,
kind of done.
so
and-
everybody has to turn and.
Yeah, oh, yeah. We always have our 2-year term.
Because I've just never been out on the meetings where it's been announced that somebody would be appointed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, mine's a little more.
Am I different?
You know what? No, part of it is that, we have,
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
yeah, so
But yet you're the same because you have the same last name as the guy next to
there you go.
They vigorously point out.
you. I know, I've heard it.
And so, but thank you, we really appreciate your time and efforts and what you brought to this committee.
Well, we appreciate you.
Thanks. So one thing that,
This may be our public comment. Representative Heave has joined us tonight.
Hey, yeah, sorry.
Hi.
Late.
No problem. Here, let me clear a place for you.
Housing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you're in the wrong meeting. Well, it was nice having you anyway.
It's kind of.
Get out of there.
Be sure to vote for bike trails down in Salem. Okay?
Take care.
It's the first.
That would have been awkward. Good job, Tyler.
I just had a hunch that maybe it was possible.
Well, it was really good because I didn't find out what his name was.
Representative Heave.
Heave.
James Heave.
Okay.
So, one of the points on new business, I'm gonna throw it over to you, but I thought that was a wonderful suggestion you had.
So, you want me to?
Yeah.
So I suggested that we do a rotation of taking minutes like we normally do, but maybe that would plan ahead so we can have a kind of a list of upcoming months and who we
Yeah,
are in
and
the midst of that month, and then that'll, yeah, right, that way we don't kind of kind of-
So that sound okay?
And if we find out for some reason that
Yeah.
we're not gonna be here that day, then I'm sure something will happen to switch.
Yeah, that sounds good. So maybe what we'll do is maybe we can have a little sign up, we can do that via either right here, or why don't we do it online? And just let you guys sign up for the months that you might want to.
Do you want me to send it out?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful, thank you. Okay, and in that case, if there's any further comment on that, otherwise we will, and I appreciate that.
Should we do it like 4 months out?
I would do
6
it,
months out?
I'd go 6 or 8
6 months,
months out,
okay.
because it goes fast. Yeah. And then as it comes up, if people need to switch, do that, so. Okay,
Maybe I'll just go ahead and do
a list.
a list and then just send it out and say, if this doesn't work for you, let it.
Assumptive minute taker,
Yeah.
A what?
assumptive minute taker.
Exactly.
I like it, Britt. So we don't have to
Thanks.
sign up. So there's no action required unless you want something changed.
Right.
That's the best way to do it,
That's
Britt.
Yeah.
Genius.
Okay. All about efficiency. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I am.
All right, so we'll have move on to staff and city council update. And first, we'll start with Tyler. Greg, your name's supposed to be on here, and I'm not sure why it isn't, but here you are.
Awesome. Well, been focusing on the summer events coming up put on by the city. So the Candy Independence Day celebration, in July, so Monday. And so we've got everything coming back, which is great. And there was something that I thought of as an opportunity for the bike and ped committee to get involved in, was possibly being an entry in the parade. So if you guys wanted to maybe, have some bikes and stuff like that and bike through there on the parade. I did print out a registration form, and so if anybody wants to get involved with that.
I remember we talked about that a few
Yeah,
years ago.
and then we always forget about it.
Well,
until
I
it's-
think we can try to get in and it was too late.
Yeah.
And,
It's on Monday.
Monday morning,
Oh, this month?
yeah. No worries, I just wanted to have that opportunity available for whoever was interested.
We need to put a reminder out to ourselves like next April,
Yeah.
put it on the agenda in April to.
Well, this is Tyler's first year doing this, so I think next year he's gonna have
Yeah, I can have that.
Tyler would have told us it's April.
well, I guess then we should have hired him in February.
So it all goes back
But
to,
it is a
me.
wonderful outreach opportunity.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, so.
what time is the parade at?
It is at 10.
10.
So, and then people start getting ready around 8. So,
That's
it
right.
doesn't have to be everybody, it can just be a couple of people who are here too. And I can bring it up earlier next year and get that,
Yeah.
brought you guys' attention earlier. So, yeah.
And then we can think about bike related things, throw out crowd.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like lollipops?
Or,
Why not?
the,
Little bike shake.
Little bike yeah.
Sure.
Oh, when
I'm sure we can
bike
find
roads, or, even
Yeah.
safe routes to school might have some accessible, promotional items for bike safety and stuff. That'd be worth it.
Okay, so we got the Candy Independence Day celebration coming on. If you're not even part of the parade, come on down and visit downtown Candy during that time. We also have the first Thursday, which is going to be next Thursday, so that'll be a big week right next week. 5 to 8 p.m. on Thursday. So it's an opportunity to come downtown and visit all the businesses. And then working on Candy's Big Night Out Street Dance coming up August 26th. So that would be plenty of opportunity to come downtown and visit. So
Are we having music in the park this year?
there will be, I believe it's Friends of the Library putting on some music, and they're actually doing that in conjunction with the first Thursday night market. So they'll have music in the park during that time as well. So
Cool.
yeah.
Hmm.
So
You're in full swing.
yeah, so all good stuff. And I did also connect with both planning and public works and just let them know that there may be questions that arise from the bike and pedestrian committee. And so they connected me with, they identified the correct person for me to get in contact with. If you guys have any questions for me to bring up, so there might be questions today. From, well, I would connect with both Jerry and Don
Oh, Tom?
with planning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so both of those, we have both of those that I can connect with and answer any questions that you guys might have. So I just wanted to, let you guys be aware that. Always happy to report back at the next month for any questions. So,
And, great.
Let me follow up on a couple of other things here. We are trying to develop a little sense of organizational discipline. So I know a lot of us have had relationships with Jerry Nelsine, head of our public works, but we're trying to get our boards and commissions so that communication to council comes through the liaison, communication to staff goes through our staff liaison, just so we have a record of it and it's a little tidier. So just to underscore what Tyler was saying. Also, in addition to the music in the park, also Slice of Summer, separate organization will be having 3 weekend events as well. Some terrific news in terms of the budget, which we approved. We're hiring 8.5 new employees. That includes one that I think is visionary, and that is a full-time mental health person assigned to our police department to respond in cases of people having mental health crisis. My own personal therapist in Oregon City actually works for Oregon City Police, and she's up to now sometimes 60 hours a week, that it has become so valuable as a way to respond to people in crisis. So that's one thing that we funded. We funded the dog park, and also funded improvements to Community Park, the Pond Park. And in both cases, Community Park is going to have two new expanded actual flush toilets. I think I mentioned in this past that our current single one is on a drain field 500 yards away from the river where we get our water from. But DEQ says all the discharge is clean. Still, I'd like us to pay for a sewer hookup. So we've got sewer and water. 2 new bathrooms at Community Park. 1 new bathroom out at the dog park that will be located between the dog park and the Logging Road Trail. So if I get reelected, that's one thing I'm going to be pushing on is benches and bathrooms along our parks and our trails. And here's a great thing, because we have saved so much money over the last couple of years, and we've received so many grants and ARPA funds and that sort of thing. We are making big investments this year. The Logging Road Bridge, we're gonna have a path coming down in front of the storage place so that people can get from 99 up to the Logging Road and back down. Things like this that we've always wanted to do, but we're just a little bit out of what we wanted to fund. Even with that, even with 8 new people, even with these investments, we are still ending up with $30 million in reserve. So that works out to about 25% higher than any city in Oregon. So you're welcome. Our pickleball courts opened up. And those are being popular out at Maple Street Park. The parks plan, our parks, here, let me say this in a way that it can get on the record. Our parks consultant continues to disappoint me with delays. And so the latest revision is that they're going to have a semifinal report coming to the Parks Committee on July 19th. So I had a little discussion with our city manager about hustling these people up, but that is what it is. Also in the budget, something that can relate to the bike committee is they actually accept one of my ideas. I'm always shocked when anybody actually pays attention to me. And they funded at a higher rate than I asked for. I wanted to have a $10,000 mini grant program so that organizations like this committee could ask for small $1,500 grants, whatever. If we wanted to have an event, be able to buy rent porta potties, dumpsters, cleanup, that sort of thing, it's funded $50,000. So it did get funded. So the rules for that are coming out. We're not quite sure how it's going to be. I would expect first in line, though, would be city affiliated boards and commissions with nonprofits after that. But we'll wait to see. And Tyler, if you can flag that one as well as that comes out. We also funded murals, $50,000 for a mural project to start adding some additional murals on the outsides of buildings. The quiet zone, oh my God, is that taking forever? Finally, we have all of the striping done. And now we just have to wait for Union Pacific to come with their measuring sticks and make sure that all of our stripes are the right distance from the train tracks, and then they will sign off. So we're expecting that about the third week of July. And finally, due to the encouragement of people like this committee, I have filed to run for re-election again, and I'll have more to say on that after the chair adjourns the meeting. That's my report.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. That's some exciting news. Wow. Any questions for
Well,
Greg
actually,
or Tyler?
since I wasn't here and was looking, you know, the paving or filling the potholes down to the gun point,
Correct.
that's funded.
That is funded.
And when
Yes.
is that supposed to happen?
We're having difficulty finding contractors. So, but that's on our top level
Okay.
list. We're running into that in a couple of areas of trying to find contractors. We have some availability this summer. In fact, I think I may have mentioned that the Highway 99 project was pushed back a half a year so that ODOT could put out the bid in the fall. Usually they don't. They put it in the spring for summer work, and now the companies are so busy that they're going to try and get some off-season bids. So that is underway, and Tyler and I will keep our eyes on that to make sure that continues. Jerry's on vacation this week, but when he gets back, we'll put that on his stickler list to make sure it gets done. And I don't know who was going to report on the visitation out at the river.
Yeah.
But the report I got was that it was tremendously well received by the residents of actually being listened to and people being walked along and say, here's where I'm worried about, here's where I'm worried. That was a huge turnaround. So thank you.
And I
agree with
think
that.
it was long overdue and really, well, I mean, I'm really glad that we were able to get the adjacent property owners and the city staff there and to see it all one-on-one and having those direct conversations. I really appreciate that. Cliff, go ahead.
Jerry was a kid. I mean, where do you get your power?
Or, well, he's an old farm boy.
Yeah. What's his comfort for?
Yeah, well, and I was really happy too to see when we asked about any dumping that was occurring, because traditionally they've had a fair bit of dumping out there. That they said, oh, all they had to do was call Jerry and they got it picked up right away. So, that's one thing that they've been receptive towards or not receptive, active towards and appreciative of. So,
Has there been much bumping recently?
it still goes on. Yeah, it still goes on, and I hope, you can only hope for less of it. But some of the concerns raised are ones that we heard before at stakeholder meetings, but it was really good to have, the actual property owners on their section showing the city exactly what their concerns were and all that. And
What I thought was really interesting is the first property owner who has a property at the, up by the Indian Parking Road. Yeah. And he complained about that intersection having a lot of accidents there. It's a terribly designed intersection.
On 30?
Yeah. And it's a vehicle accidents, not involving bicycles or pedestrians, but drivers get confused by that intersection. And he's had his fence wiped out by people,
especially coming across Sequoia and not realizing there was a stop there. Dan Miller suggested rumble strips, as you come up to a stop, might also be helpful. And I mean, just the nature of those offset roads, that really does present a
Yeah.
heck of a challenge.
Yeah.
I know Joe Merrick,
I don't know how to improve it unless take part of the farmer's property, but realign.
yeah, I know, that's kind of realignment seems like one of the only solutions, but I'm not a traffic engineer. But that is something that Joe Merrick from Clackamas County Traffic Safety, he's been attentive and aware of that intersection, and yeah, maybe good to do some more signage and run the strips and see what things we can do.
What's gonna be going on with where the pavements were, that they just all the trees, the old trees out, what's going in there?
That's a steel plant affiliated with American Steel. I think it's under the same corporate name. It's not a subsidiary name, but they're taking advantage of that rail line to be able to bring in heavy steel and out. So I'm right. For years we thought that was an asset for the development of that land.
I thought more companies should be using that rail.
And by using rail line, we have fewer trucks and so on and so forth. So
The one thing I kept wanting to say,
Yeah,
but refrain from saying it, all the complaints about dumping, littering and stuff, illegal activity, drugs, stuff like that. Don't you realize that this was made a recreational trail and it had all the public use, that those things would probably decrease eventually? Yeah. I figured I'd just get an argument if I brought it up, so I said,
and I most appreciate that they were heard, and yeah, I think very often that's been proven time and time again. Yeah, it's seeing is believing.
How many property owners were there?
So we had one, two, Carnegie's Gun Club, the gentleman at that, right there at 13th.
Roger.
What is it?
One was the Roger, the old barn that got burned down.
Oh,
I don't know what might be.
maybe I
But it's a really nice house right there.
Right at the end, where Sequoia crosses, right at the.
Right, like if you're turning into the government.
He's right there, Roger.
On the left, yeah.
Yeah, that is Roger,
So he was there, yeah,
yes.
plus the property owner on the other side,
And, yeah, and
plus the,
Carnegie.
is he, okay. Who's the guy with the loud voice here, the cafe,
Oh, that's Kelly
okay,
and, Schmagenheimer and, Mrs.
lady that just had a baby and, you know.
yeah, oh, that, and
husband's got twice
yes.
as tall as you.
That's Gibbs, Gibbs at the end of the road there, yeah. And also, at the end there, Mr., oh my gosh, I know the name, the orchard.
Yeah.
His son-in-law is Clackamas County Sheriff, which is really helpful.
So you
I'm gonna
had, it
remember
sounds like
all
you
of
had a majority of, you know,
Oh, we had,
There's a lot
I think
on
we
that.
had all of them,
I think
and
all of them.
also,
Oh.
from Tree Frog, who they own kind of the other side there.
Oh.
They own both sides of the river, just to the west of the end of the trail there. So anyhow, it was great to have everyone there and have those conversations and hear what their concerns for their area was. And also, they even appreciated kind of as they were walking the trail, some of them together getting acquainted and stuff. So anyway, and I appreciate how receptive the city staff was to. I thought they did a great job. And so anyway, I hope we can continue a good collaborative effort with our neighbors and city. And I'm trying to remember if there was some particularly new concern, and it was most especially that intersection. I think most of the other ones we had heard, and things
No.
were still pretty high.
No, that culvert that, yeah,
Yeah,
that talked about because it popped up, you know, that's gonna collapse.
that's right. So there's a culvert that needs attention near Kelly's. And also, I think they're probably gonna put some signage up to discourage them going the trails safer and more,
Also felt like saying about the white farmers that went across the bridge over Mill Creek. I've been told by somebody that person doesn't.
oh, they're leasing the property from Canadians.
Okay,
So,
so you then,
yeah, I don't know, but I assume so if they're leasing the property, I would think, but that's a question, not me. Yeah,
So
but
what's
I mean, it's
some next steps?
agricultural,
Something that's gonna happen next?
so what happens next?
Yeah.
Redmond,
From what I heard from Jerry at the Parks and Rec meeting was, they're probably gonna get the signage up to start with. And then, we look to Dan Miller and, city staff on our next steps. So, we will find out. Are you in on those at all?
I could follow up with the next steps.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
notice it's on here. Bruce and Russ, like that infrastructure, because Bruce brought up a different design for the lanes.
Yeah, who was that? Recently,
Yeah. From your trip.
great. I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, he showed me a picture.
Yeah. So.
You were on them, right, yourself?
Oh,
On
yeah,
bikes.
yes, yes.
What were you want, did you want to move on to that?
They had a center lane.
Yeah.
For vehicle traffic.
Mhm.
And then lanes on each side for bikes and pedestrians.
Mhm.
And whenever you need a two-way traffic, then the vehicles moved over to use the whole pavement to pass each other and then return to the center lane.
It was everywhere in the
Yeah.
Netherlands and Belgium.
After a while, I looked and I first focused in on that and I was riding. It's so easy to ride.
Yeah. Bruce,
Specifically, I didn't-
yeah, and we can,
He
talk
took
about
all
that.
sorts of pictures showing how it went with just bikes and pedestrians on it, how it went, we just had a vehicle, how it went, you had two vehicles. We took about 6 pictures of different types of traffic and how they oriented themselves on that.
Well, he must have talked to you, and he didn't show it to me.
So, yeah, he was taking those pictures and you got the preview before we did. So that's wonderful. Because, so those
So
are
that means you wouldn't have a fence put up between vehicle traffic and bike and pedestrian traffic,
Mhm.
and you wouldn't need as much.
I mean, it's a lot cheaper. It's
Cheaper and-
striping and, so.
And you don't need as much width.
Exactly. And so that's what we look forward to sharing. We were thinking about doing it tonight, but Bruce is not, or he's at the Malala River Watch meeting. But we can talk a little about it and then he'll share a presentation in August, which since we're already talking about that, so what that was on these narrow country lanes, they would have just striping near the shoulder, just white striping on either side, no center lane striping or any. So this was all through Holland, the Netherlands, Belgium. And it just meant there's going to be bikes and pedestrians walking along the shoulders of the road. They have nowhere else to go. And most of the time, yeah, there's only, not too much passing motor cars.
Yeah,
Passing.
they're pretty separated. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the time, we weren't interacting with cars very much. Yeah, just
Those type of. A lot of vehicle traffic on those.
well, I mean, when you think about it, it's so wonderful riding there, and then you think about how to translate it here, and it's very difficult just because of the nature of how they developed there. And, we've developed where the auto is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and trucks are number 5, and semis are number 6. And then, as far as the way exaggerating, but that's essentially the way it is. But we could ride. I don't know about the right of way between, when we rode in some of those gravel trails that were in good shape between farmland. I don't know whether those, well, they must have been, farm usage, but and why, they're public, like bike routes on them. You can't get lost on a bicycle in the Netherlands because every place there's routes. If you have a route map, you just follow the route. But we'd go into a town, and then there'd be cars in the town more than likely. But then we get out of the town, be on dedicated bike lanes, ones that were bike and pedestrian, dedicated bike and dedicated pedestrian, and then get on where there were 3, and then we get on where there were no pedestrians, almost no. We might go on and have bikes, and then a really fast runner. Susie really liked it.
That's right. I was like,
She was a big, good-looking guy.
catching up with us, I was like,
She was running about 15 miles an hour. Pedaling along. And she keeps talking to me. But anyway, there's a lot of things to learn from there, like the speed bump thing, that we talked about before, where you have instead of just a bump at a crosswalk, you have it goes up and then it's quite a ways across and then drops down. So that,
Because that is
but
that path for pedestrians.
yeah, and you see them now, but not a lot, and there you see them more. But there's just so much riding that you can do without interacting with cars.
And one of the things that I thought was brilliant that we could learn a lot from was their brilliant use of paint. Because there were so few stop signs and signage. It was mostly paint that really brought the traffic, cars and bikes and pedestrians in a way to interact that was, I thought, brilliant and economical. And a lot of times when going back to the country lane that had basically a single center lane for cars and those stripings, a lot of times it had this brick red pavement on the side there. It was this, how did they do that? Did they just put a dye on it? Anyway, I'm not sure what, because maybe it was just paint or maybe whatever. But anyhow, there was a slight color variation, and so you'll see examples of that in August, which I think will be really worthwhile and something we can learn from. I do want to mention that going back to last meeting, when we had the concerns that Dr. Peter had raised along Ivy going out towards Goods Bridge, where the construction was going on, and there were some safety concerns in the bike lanes and the walking lanes there. And I really want to give a shout out to Joe Merrick at the county, and he's head of traffic at county, and then also Scott Holscher and Bruce and I. We had a nice hour-long meeting with them, and it's pretty well been taken care of, and we appreciate their quick and prompt attention. And shout out to Jerry Milzine. He has a great relationship with the county and got everything taken care of. But knowing that when we're going on this trip, we'll be sharing a lot of this information, the infrastructure stuff with, Joe said, take lots of pictures. And we'll be sharing it at the county meeting and stuff. And, maybe we can learn from others and, and thank you to Bruce for putting together the pictures. Russ and I just wrote.
My pictures were horses and cows, swans and little babies. We could have gone.
You might go next year.
Oh, what, you might go next year?
You might go next year.
Oh, do you have anyone you're going through at all? Oh, well, let's get you connected with Bike Planet, because
Yeah, that's really good.
it's Russ who kind of got where I'm going on that. And it's wonderful. They do a great job. And it's amazing the tourism industry that is built by, it's people make their livings. on
Yeah, I mean,
this, and
that's
it's-
one of the things that, we get in a car and you drive, let's say you need to take a break every 2 or 3 hours or something like that. So you stop at you stop at a rest area, or you stop, there's a gathering of stores or something, and there's a McDonald's or whatever, the Starbucks. Well, there you ride, and it seems like, and this is true in Germany on the bike paths, and Interestingly, in Germany, every 6 or 7 miles, there'll be a beer garden. Now, in the Netherlands, every 6 or 7 miles, there's coffee, but they usually have beer there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went into this one place, we stopped, it was towards the end of the trip, and it happened to be a holiday for some reason, Monday, and so people weren't working, so we stopped and everything was closed, but our guide, he went in, turns out it was a bar, and, but they made coffee for everybody, but and I looked up, and walked in, and I could see these guys probably spent most every day, because the beer was really cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of those places close by, and they, I don't know how much, coffee was a couple bucks, a couple euros each, so, and there were 17 of us, I guess. So.
That is-
So really quick, what this reminded me of, I watched a little movie about this mayor, because I'm going to go to Colombia every year, and I was watching a movie about the mayor that they had in the early 2000s of Bogota, and decided to really very progressive, quirky guy, decided to equalize the entire communities, like increasing the number of buses, getting cars off the road, because they were just having a huge number of fatalities, and improving bicycle accessibility. And so they could put a bunch of money into a huge bicycling project there, and it got so many cars off the road that it decreased by more than 50% the fatalities. But the biggest thing, the coolest thing he said is that the thing that essentially separates the haves and have-nots there was those who have a car versus those who don't have a car. And he said, being able to ride a bicycle, somebody with a $30 bicycle is equal to somebody with a $30,000 car. And I just thought that was, insightful and just an interesting way of thinking of it. And it just had huge success. So I'm kind of excited to see what the urban bicycle, how their layout is for the bikes. Because it's kind of what you imagine. Yeah, it's kind of what you imagine. It's just a really crazy, lots of traffic and all that. So it'll be interesting to see how they made it safe.
And the other thing about accessibility, it was amazing too to see how a bicycle was such a normal part of life. They learn to ride a bike as soon as they walk, I swear, and we'd be riding along and you'd see these people riding a bike and it was a part of them. And you'd see elderly people that, they were obviously in their 80s and they were riding a bike with their groceries. And as part of their utilitarian and enjoyment.
Yeah, what I can't remember who told me this or I heard it, but the difference between bicycle riding in most of Europe and bicycle riding here is that bicycle riding there is just a necessity. It's part of life. It's part of your daily life. Going to school, going to work, and everybody rides a bicycle. Here, bicycle riding is for recreation. And people in Portland, they do use it. My daughter rides a bike every day, but when you get out, people don't ride the bike. We ride for recreation, and that's a big factor in a lot of things that develop. So
And I think too, also I visited a farm in Holland while I was there. And this was afternoon in Antwerp with our niece came by. Anyway, and went out to this full farm, just like all the country roads we were riding on. Anyhow, and I asked her, I said, so how is it with your farming and your equipment? Are you having any, how do you feel about the bikes and running into bike traffic and walking traffic? And she just looked at me like, what are you asking? And said, is there a, any conflict, problem with safety and things like that? She goes, no. She just could hardly understand the question. It's such a integral part of, they understand how to work around each other. And so it's a culture that it's not impossible, but we can all, I think accessibility is huge for people who might not always have access to a car, whether financial or age or otherwise. So, and especially with electric bikes, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more demand for safe bikes. So we're only preaching to the choir here. Okay. So Parks Master Plan update, pretty much hit on it, Greg, and I kind of wanted to get a feeling from both Jeff and Greg on, I was very concerned about the misrepresentation of trails. That they were saying that we had 16 miles of trail when we only have 16 acres.
Yeah, we've asked them to clean that up, and I'm waiting to get back to the board.
Okay.
And that's-
I really want to make
that's-
sure that,
Yes, I'll forward the committee that report when it comes in. I'm told that we're not going to get it too much before July 19th, but anyway, when we get it, I'll share it around.
and Parks, I think I'm on that string too. So we'll watch that close and make sure we follow up with that.
Yeah, and we
Because
talked
that's
about
gonna
the
have
fact
big
that
impacts.
they didn't really have much for trails except for stuff that was way down the line. So I'm hoping the new draft, when we see it, has some better stuff in it. I think they talked about trails a lot in the report,
Yeah,
but I don't think it was prioritized as far as action.
Right, and that's going to be up to the council.
Right.
Is that we're going to decide that. And frankly, I wanted the master plan to be more of a 30,000 foot level. Of what does the community want? Where do you see some vacancies in terms of what we're doing? What are some new paradigms of recreation district, things like that? But on the ground, it's going to be up to the council to fund this. And we're going to have to run it through the matrix of maintenance. So trails automatically go to the top of the list over recreational facilities, ballparks, things like that, because they're easier to maintain than a full-scale recreational with tennis courts and things like that. So, so part of it will be that it'll go to the Parks Committee for their review, and then those recommendations will go on to the City Council. The City Council has then asked our city manager, who used to run the North Plaquemines Park and Recreation District, for his recommendation on a short list of 3 to 5 things that we should do in the next 2 years. So we've got both long range things, but I also want to get as quickly as we can. We've got $4 million in the bank. Well, we got $1 million in next year's budget for theoretical park improvements. That's separate from the $1 million for the dog park and the bathrooms. So unspent, we've got 6 million, encumbered 2 million, and at 200 houses a year, that's about $1 million a year in SDC funds each year. So my point is that at 8% inflation, that money is sitting in the bank earning 0.04% from the state treasurer's office, and the sooner that we can invest that in facilities, the better we are serving the stewards and the taxpayers. So I'm pushing for an aggressive 2-year plan that hits some of these high spots. So I'll count on you folks to back me up when we get to those hearings.
Very good. Anything else from that draft? Beyond that? Sounds good. Great, and also thank you, Jeff, for being there. Really appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Ron, any?
Well, in June, we didn't have a meeting, and the next meeting will be in July 11th. We're going to be reviewing the Northwest vernacular plan for the fairgrounds. Basically, is all that we're going to be doing at that meeting. So hopefully we'll at the next meeting the next meeting for the bike, we'll have some we'll let you know what the plans are there.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And excuse me. Going on, we've got comment. Jamie got back to me on the ODOT grant, the Oregon Community Paths grant, and in talking with Scott Archer and Jamie and and Dan Miller with National Park Service. It's recommended that we probably do hold off this round and we'll be better situated in the future, and we want to kind of build on our partnership with the adjacent property owners first, and get ourselves lined up that way better, and before we proceed, and that all sounds good to me. So that's that update. Cliff, any updates and sidewalks?
No, I keep seeing the new sidewalks, but that's on the ones I see are new developments. And I've heard from Jerry and heard from Greg about there's all sorts of sidewalks coming, and they keep looking for them.
We keep looking for contractors.
Also, I noticed in the minutes
Yeah, and Jerry had that work list that is coming up, and
Jerry, in the budget, Jerry did get an additional person in public works. So that's going to be helping.
oh, that's
now the minutes said that I asked about 99 East sidewalks. That Greg was right away, but might be an issue, but we get details on that. I asked why we can't have sidewalks all the way on the north side of 99 E through downtown on the ODOT paving project. And you thought there wasn't enough room because the railroad probably owned the property where there's no sidewalks.
Right, yeah. And I haven't gotten back on, traditionally it's 50 feet on either side of the center line of the railroad. But in some cases, for example, at Hulbert's,
Yeah.
they purchased
Right.
that. Yeah, so, let me, darn it, I dropped the ball. Let me work that one up again.
Britt?
Really, nothing to report. Other than I've been failing to, I keep meaning to take pictures on the Tuesday night bike ride to post. But I haven't been on the bike ride the last weeks. It's been 4 weeks. And then the time I was on the bike ride, I totally forgot. So I'm gonna try to remember, but if anyone's on the logging road
We can go on.
and you can remember better than I can, take a picture and post it.
What, just a picture.
Yeah, just it can be of anything.
Biking around,
Oh, yeah,
walking around.
think I do it.
It can be a selfie, it can be of, your, somebody who's with you, it could be of a squirrel, whatever. It can be something on the logging road.
Just, or even walking and biking around, and,
Yeah, something to make it, something for ages, sitting there.
Going on to next meeting date. Can you guys tell I haven't had dinner? We're cruising.
Starting to fade here.
Yeah. So next meeting date will be July, and we're usually the second Tuesday. So August 9th.
Yep.
Wonderful.
August.
And I would love to go for a bike ride if anyone wants to go.
When you want to do this.
Well, I'm gone the next 2 weekends, but mid-July, like on a Saturday or Sunday, July 16th or 17th, July 23rd or 24th. Anyone game for a, you know what, we should, this isn't really business, so shall we adjourn? And we can talk about that. So, thank you all. Take care, Ron. Good to see you.